One day while I was at work, this customer came in and randomly asked me if I grew up in Oregon, Portland to be exact. When I answered no, that I grew up here, two things happened in that moment. Number one, he seemed disappointed, but I think that was a projection of my own emotions because I was disappointed. Disappointed that I wasn't this worldly writer who had gone off exploring the West, the open skies, small towns, and endless forests. And number two, I was actually surprised and somewhat elated that I did carry the air of somebody from somewhere else. And that gave me a little bit of hope that one day I will be exploring the mountains of the West. And maybe I need to let go a little bit of my ideas of being this other person and just being me. When I was about 9 years old, I asked for a feather pen. While kids in my class were perfecting their bubble letters on composition notebooks, I was diligently working on perfecting my old-fashioned calligraphy on leather journals. All this time later, and I'm considering giving it all up to enter the digital realm. Why? Well, I think I've got too much stuff. This was my old routine. Going to my shelf or my drawer, picking out a book that I wanted to write in, but actually before doing that I had to decide what I wanted to write. Was it going to be poetry? Was it going to be a script? Was it going to be a drawing? Was it going to be a... 1, 2, 3, 4. Depending on what that idea is in my head of what I want to write, that's the book I grab. So I grab that book. And then halfway into grabbing the book that I think I want, I think, well, what if suddenly I change my mind? You only make you feel like you could never leave. And then there's a pen that I want to grab. Do I want to do calligraphy? The calligraphy pen doesn't work so well on the lined note paper though, so I usually grab the calligraphy pen and a ballpoint pen, or I just grab the ballpoint pen so I can cover all my bases. And I go to sit down and I write, and sometimes because I'm left-handed, my hand sits on the page and it can be bumpy and awkward. The same, we can't go back, this is all we need. Follow me to make believe and make your dreams come true. This night means forever and so does me and you. We say we love, we say we love. We gave it all, we gave it all. And then, you know, I write for maybe 5 minutes before I start to get fatigued with dealing with the bumps in the paper. So I think, well, that was enough. I wrote that I had nothing to say today and the weather was rainy, and then I end my writing session. My new routine is grabbing this little thin tablet, going to sit down, grabbing the only pen that works with it, and having a plethora of notebooks to choose from within, and it works well with being left-handed. You see, perspective is one way until suddenly it's not. And then It's like you're looking at a whole new world. If you had told me even 6 months ago that I would be considering going fully digital, I would have cringed and been scared for myself because I love my leather journals. I love history. So seeing something that is historical looking, it just feels like fulfilling. However, what was my point? New perspectives. At my job, there are a set of railroad tracks, completely overgrown and at this point no longer in use. I knew that they were there from the main street. You know, there's that little like section where you can go across the tracks, and they're not raised tracks in this main street section. They're flush with the ground, so you go past and there's buildings on either side, and it looks like a regular busy town. My job is down a side street, and across from that is a park, and then right behind the park are the railroad tracks that continue in either direction. So the other morning, I had about 20 minutes before work, and I decided to walk across to the park to get some nature bathing in. There's a row of pine trees, and normally I sit on the bench that's right across the street. But this time I decided to walk under the pines and sort of like really take in the moment. And I walked to the railroad tracks, and they were completely overgrown, and I looked down one side and then the other, and I was kind of astonished at how different they looked from this perspective. And I was almost in a new place, in a new world. It looked completely different from what it does out of the window of my job. I thought, well, I could be anywhere. That kind of sparked this idea of perspective for me, and looking at things from a different angle and looking at things almost with new eyes. Had I not decided to walk into the park and across to these railroad tracks, I never would have realized that this was here, and that kind of carried me throughout the rest of my work day. This is the first time I'm going to be saying this. It feels a little awkward, but if you like this type of content, if you like this video, maybe think about subscribing or liking this video or leaving me a comment, because every little bit kind of helps, and I like to make videos like this. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be seeing you.